This program is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.
Hello, my name is Chris Cation, and I'm a guitarist from the Twin Cities. I'm a professor of guitar over at the University of St. Thomas, but I'm also a soloist in addition to being a teacher. I've been lucky enough to play on most of the continents of the planet. And today's program is interesting because none of it was originally written for guitar. Beethoven wrote nothing for guitar, but he did write a set of pieces for his intended paramour, who was a wonderful mandolinist. He wrote a set of pieces, 4 of them for mandolin to be accompanied by piano. I play the mandolin part on the guitar. And what's so interesting about these pieces is that it's not music that one hears the guitar do. It's a kind of a Viennese romantic style that is not common for any kind of guitar music, though the guitar was so very popular in Vienna in the late 1700s. Particularly, however, this is Beethoven at his sort of pop music, folk music earliest roots. He is a young man in love, and he wrote some very melodramatic and histrionic and emotional pieces. Well, we know Beethoven is certainly interested in complex emotions. Here is Beethoven at his most callow and feckless, emotions on his sleeve, compositional style. we go to another Viennese composer, Franz Joseph Haydn, who's considered to be the father of the string quartet. So what we recorded, and you'll hear today, is a full string quartet, that's 2 violins, viola, and cello, arranged for guitar and piano. So the guitar is playing the violin 1 part, which is where all the notes are, all the ink is, and then the second violin and viola and cello parts are played by the piano.
I'm David Jenkins, the keyboard half of our duo. I'm also on the faculty at the University of St. Thomas, have been teaching at the Seminary School of Divinity, the graduate theology school there, for the last 25 years. The past few years I've also been teaching on a part-time adjunct basis at St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota. And I'm trained as an organist, primarily organist and church musician, and that's most of my work. Chris and I have been performing for about 15 years together now, and we were trying to think of how we met or got connected, but I know it's about our common interest in the performance of Baroque music, which is earlier music than what we performed for this taping. Because I'm trained as an organist and a pianist first, I think my background was kind of more play the right notes on the page and, you know, kind of a caution or not an orientation towards improvisation. So while Chris came to our duo and to his classical music from rock music and from what is entirely improvisation within certain conventions, I came from, I suppose, what would have been traditional for someone my age, coming from you learn to play all the correct notes on the page correctly. And our convergence in our duo is to bring something of both of that convention and correctness, if you will, along with the spontaneity that is characteristic of a lot of non-classical Western music.
there's an absolutely exquisite guitar builder from Fargo named Bill Brunton. And I played all of, or three rather, of Bill's guitars on all of the pieces that you heard. And if you watch closely, you'll see that I'm constantly changing guitars from one piece to the next. This is sort of a surprising challenge. One usually doesn't sit in a recording session or mount the stage with an instrument that's utterly foreign to them. So I came up last night and spent at least 2 to 5 minutes playing each instrument before then they appeared here in the studio and I did it. So it was, in a way, one of the scariest musical experiences of my life. But boy, these instruments were so forthcoming and so generous that the session was a real joy.
I'm Bill Brunton, a retired professor of anthropology at NDSU. When I retired from NDSU in 2001, I took a master class on soundboard construction, and at that point began to make serious instruments. And the instruments that you've heard in this concert are the latest result from one of them just 2 days old. And my real desire in this whole thing is to be in an audience, as I was today, and hear my instruments being played by a master and played masterfully, and listen to that wonderful lyric sound that these things make. And I just find this such a reward.
This program is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, and by the members of Prairie Public.